So this is the review recap for Them on Amazon Prime, and it is day 3, episode 2. I'm going to put the questions up front, so for those of y'all that don't hang around long, maybe you'll jump in the comment section, because honey, I have questions. Did you expect that dog to come back like Pet Cemetery? I hate to laugh about it, but I really did, and especially when the blood came through the ground. Number 2, what is the issue with Ruby at that school? Look, I can't imagine. I have been the only black person, but I was not the only black person or the black student, groundbreaking, first time ever in an entire school. So it's just something extra there. Like, she's really contemptuous towards her mother, but she's also got this like underlying self-hate going on. I don't know, but y'all tell me what you get or what you think. Maybe she's just a really quiet, good student and doesn't feel the need to speak up or, create more trouble because she is the first black girl or the only black girl at this time. I don't know, but I just feel like it's something more there. And little Gracie, does that child talk back to y'all a little too much? And I was a talking back child who always had an opinion about something. I'm sure if my mother was here, she would pass out somewhere in the back. Like, not physically, but roll her eyes so hard and let out an old black woman deep sigh, like, because my mother doesn't talk a lot. But I know that's one thing she would shake her head real hard on. Like, I know she didn't just call another child out for talking too much. That girl talks back a lot. I'm just saying. I feel she does. And I put her at about 4 or 5, considering she hadn't started school. But I can appreciate her just blurting out Miss Vera killed her dog and this, that, and the other. And, here we are, day 3. I didn't realize how much of day 2 was being covered and day 3 in my first review. So work with me. Mr. Henry is who we open to on the floor shaking, and Miss Lucky is trying to comfort him. We've identified he's back from the war and he has trauma. He's a vet. They cut to the dinner table with a lot of talking and catching up, but they serve him a slice of peach pie. Look, y'all, I'm super Southern. I've only ever had peach cobbler. I ain't saying peach pie can't be made. I've never even made it. I'm just saying. He looks at it, he sniffs it, he smells it, and throws it against the wall. So you're like, ooh, is he abusive? What's going on here? You just don't know. You never know. You're on the edge every time with this show. I'm telling you. But look, Miss Lucky tried to send Ruby out to her room. She was trying to calm her man down and keep the family together. So you realize, okay, it's some extra here. Cut to them on the front porch, and he explains. They were not allowed to pick up guns in the war. And again, my father, if you're new here, served in the Korean War, still integrating the army as a black man, and that was 1946? I forget. At any rate, no, that was still World War II. 54. Okay, the point is, I can't believe they couldn't pick up guns. We know that from history books. But I did not know that they did use the black soldiers for testing of mustard gas. I didn't just take his word for it in the script. Although, shout out to Little Marvin. Honey, he's really good at being thorough, either having a consult or doing the research, because I looked it up and sure enough they did. Just like they did with Agent Orange and testing on our soldiers during Vietnam War, and then they finally started paying them off in 2099. Yeah, they were there to get them there. So anywho, he said, look, it was called mustard gas, but it smells sweet. So whatever it made them do, that smell from that pie triggered him, and he threw it away, out of safety to preserve himself, or out of fear, like, look, I got to get this away for me to stay alive. Trauma. That's the best way I could put this whole series. This is a series about trauma. Either you're dealing with the maleficent forces, I know I'm still saying that word wrong, or the white folks across the street that's just doing the exact most. And the bankers that's setting you up with not just a 20% interest, 23, 25, 27% interest. Ooh, to be around in those days, I wouldn't have not have abused people that bad, but my gosh, I was with the banker who was shocked at the other bankers. Like, are you crazy? I know you're not charging more than 20. Yes, they were. And they see it as a turnover. They like the fact, and they know that there's going to be, the white neighbors. They're ready to get rid of them. And the fastest way to get rid of them is to bring the black people in and be able to fight that out. But I'm jumping ahead. Ignore that part. Just know, back on the tangent of Mr. Henry Emery cannot function around sweet items and chooses not to eat sweet things for that purpose. Um, he asks Lucky to explain this to Ruby. She's the oldest child at that time, and Lucky is pregnant. She grabs his hand, touches her belly, and say, "No, we could do it together." Now that I do respect. As a black woman, you come on, baby. We're going to work this out together. We are a married couple. I'm not here to relay messages. Look, we already had our time apart. Now everybody going to hear from all the adults at the same time and know we're a united front. Because, kids will get in between you when you ain't united. So we're awakened to hearing scratching. And I thought, of course, something was back. Either that white woman, that Dell lady was there to take the baby, or it was a spirit. Of course, they play on your fear, and it's a dog. And Mr. Henry names him Sergeant. Child, a scraggly dog that we later see moved on to California with them. But we cut back to present day, and the police have been called to the house because Miss Lucky went outside on the front lawn with a loaded gun and threatened everybody who could see it, and then made some commentary because the dog was found dead. And this is why I was overlapping last time and started discussing Mr. Henry ran through the house looking with no weapon for people to be in the house and was going to handle it. The dog's still dead at the bottom of the stairs. The young Barney Ruff, it did look like Barney from Mayberry RFD cop shows up, both of them. Forceful, negative, over the top, escalating everything. But Mr. Henry was already prepared. He hid the gun that his wife, he took it from his wife, and when he hit that 45, everybody sat on the couch. It's like they knew the drill. And I don't like that. I just don't. And of course I can't relate. And I respect everybody who's went through this, still going through it in 2021. God help us. All Breonna Taylor got murdered in her sleep. But I'm there asking questions. I'm making demands. I'm asking for badge numbers and the business cards. And what's your direct? Who's the captain on duty? And what shift do you normally work? Are you covering for someone else? And okay, things like that. And it's just, I know I speak from a place of privilege that was not afforded at that time. It's still not afforded even today, because I wouldn't advise any client to do what I did other than ask for a badge number, because we can get the rest later. Or if you can't, get pictures. But don't ever escalate it, because they're looking for something. And also you have to worry when there's a domestic call. Officers should be worried, because on domestic calls, that's when they're the most dangerous and more likely to be shot and killed themselves. The numbers are there. I'm not making it up. You have to feel for both parties. Yes, officers who are reporting to the scenes of a domestic call, and those who are also feeling threatened, like the Emerys are. And in this instance, it is not on them. But the captain shows up, Miss Betty across the street, child, busy by the Karen. Her name is Betty. That's what Bex is what we call her. Is highly disgusted and disappointed. She feels, that doesn't make me feel safe. Yeah, I can't even imagine saying this to people. But I was like, I need to start taking notes from these Karens, because clearly there's something about me that says you're never in danger. So what are you whining for? And I have to check people quite often. Like, sir, you're here to serve and protect. I need both, not either or. This isn't a pick or choose moment. At any rate, he goes in questioning what's going on here, because of course his Barney Fife guys have Mr. Henry pinned against the wall, and the others are watching the wife hold the two kids together. Like, what's she gonna do? But at any rate, whatever. Let's just entertain and indulge this BS. Mr. Henry explains things. The captain calms it down, and you kind of get the sense like, okay, is he a good guy here? I know we've so Americanized as a good guy, bad guy, no in between kind of thing. But he, walks him down to show him the dog being killed. They don't believe anyone. Of course, they automatically just don't assume anyone has hurt or broken into the home. He says, previous owners had left rat poison, traps, and then he finds a loose window. You think somebody got through there? No bigger than a dog could have got through. I'm like, honey, that was the 50s. People was much, much smaller. So we're going to play this game. But okay, whatever. I'm with Miss Lucky. Ain't a dog ain't just magically die by himself. And he ain't run across no poison. They come back up to the cameraman upstairs, because Mr. Henry's still with the captain. And that's when little Gracie goes, Well, y'all gonna keep my dog got killed by that lady, Miss Vera? What? You didn't tell me somebody else was here. No, she's not here. Ruby screaming, shut up, don't talk, da da da. And of course, her mama's embarrassed because, who got time to talk about a make believe person? But, she's like, look, my child has a mark right here on her neck. Where is it? And it is no longer there. So this is where you're like, okay, those demonic forces are doing the most. At least if you was gonna burn my child once, let that sit there. It shouldn't be able to disappear. Are you playing mind games with me? I don't know yet. At any rate, the cop is agitated. Miss Lucky is super confused and bothered. The captain comes upstairs. Mr. Henry tries to dismiss it as, wife is just confused and overwhelmed. And the husband's like, we won't have any more of these little antics and, scare attack moments. And we won't go pick up the newspaper with a loaded gun, right? So he's like, yeah, she's just having a hard time right now. Essentially, the wife is offended because, again, you're a couple, you present as united front, and he's just played it off like she's crazy. I don't know if that's what it took to survive at that time, but I can say I can understand her frustration. So they go on with their day. Mr. Henry goes to work. Honey. Okay, I'm sorry. Back up. Midge lets Betty know they are moving. This ain't the place to raise kids anymore. She's now with child, even though she's talking about a diet, and they're both drinking with cigarettes in their hand. Baby, it's a time to be alive. I be struggling over here as an asthmatic, seeing them smoke cigarettes, because that's the first thing that would trigger my asthma, and it's a lot, especially now when you go in areas where you're just used to not being around smoke. And when I was in the Carolinas and you just walk by and people are standing out in the breezeway smoking, like, yo. And cigarettes in that area must be fresh, like straight from the tobacco field, and everything else the rest of America get is stale, because it is so potent and so strong, it will snap my breath immediately. But now we go to Betty's not happy because she ain't trying to hear nothing from anyone who ain't doing what she say and what she thinks should be happening, which is fight the colored folks and get the hell on. Them niggas gotta go. We now get to see Irv from the game. Yes, remember him? Well, child, he's supposedly this helpful Connecticut guy who don't see no color. He loves all the guys' children. I was like, Irv plays the same character every time. Like aloof, but will do anything for $1. So I'm like, are they trying to hype up like this Jewish stereotype, or is Irv just comfortable with that? Because, honey, he embodies it. At this point, I don't know, it ain't even a role for him, nor is it stereotyping how he plays it. You know how you get pigeonholed in a position? Irv seems to enjoy it and embody it. At any rate, he lets Emery, as he calls him, all the time. I'm like, that's not that man's name. Then I realized, oh, yeah, that's his surname. He really went to bat for him. So for him to be sitting at his desk, are you gold bricking me? I had to look that up. Gold bricking is basically riding the clock, looking for nothing, standing in one spot with nothing to do so you can still get paid. And he's like, no, if I can be honest, we lost our dog today and the girls are really toe up. Of course, they played this well because our Caucasian counterparts can always understand a dead pet actually closer than they seem to get a family member. Because when my father died, the school seemed to have thought I should bury him and be back in 24 hours, maybe 48 hours. Not to mention Katrina had just hit. That's a whole nother story. Not to even mention Thanksgiving was right there with the holidays. But I can never relate to that. I'm not going to go, let's put the dead in the ground and get back to work tomorrow. That's never going to be me. And especially someone close like a father. I'm not saying people can't mourn their pets. Lord knows I'm not, because my mama lost her last one and decided she'll never have another dog. And it took a few years, at least 7, before we could talk her into at least holding one. Anywho, moving on. Mr. Irv is, what's his name? I'm sorry, y'all. He officially gives Stu. His name is Stu, and he is extra as ever. He gives Emery a folder and tells him, did I ask you to look at it? Mr. Henry goes to the bathroom with the folder, walking fast with them pants pulled up high. Snatches all the toilet, the paper towels from the handheld, goes into the stalls. Like, what is he going to do? Covers it into his mouth. Excuse me, I had to act that out. And starts screaming. I'm assuming that was his coping mechanism for being able to deal with segregation, racism, derogatory tones, middle management. But the way Stu has already shown himself, he's going to be the middle manager everybody hates. Let's just be real. Those are the kind of people that run off the good employees for every company. So I don't even know if Mr. Henry ever made that delivery, but we cut to Ruby answering a literary question in class. The class has already decided something because they're giggling and going back and forth. She answers it correctly, but guess what? They started making monkey sounds. And the teacher writes her up for disturbing class. A la Fargo season 4, episode 1. Little black girl was super smart. And what did they do? Write her up and send her to the office every day for either being insolent, insubordinate, talking back, or being a general disturbance. I was like, you know what? I can relate. I really can relate. High achieving or not, magnet school or not. Hell, I was at the magnet school when I got the most calls to my parents for being disruptive in class. But I knew the material. I understood it the first time. I helped other people, and then I started talking. If you want to, like other teachers said, Joyce isn't a problem, but there was one teacher, apparently, according to my daddy, who was really out for me. And although she called this big old production to have this conference with all the teachers, none of the other teachers, I guess, went against me. Because I'm not going to say they really didn't take her side, but they made it clear that they didn't have those same issues. It's just called advanced placement and give her more work, which is what enough people did. At any rate, the child now meets, she goes to the teacher's office. She meets the blonde, blue-eyed Doris that seems fast for everybody. I mean, wearing lipstick, has a little pony. But it's like, why is this child in the office? Is she somewhere trying to have sex under the stairs? They're just in high school, whatever. At any rate, Betty discusses Midge leaving with her husband, Clark. And she is hot. They are moving. Midge's husband was supposed to be the speaker of that night at the HOA. So Clark's like, he can still speak. Betty's like, no, he can't. What are you going to do? Speak on the way on the back of the moving truck? She convinces Clark that he can give the speech. He doesn't seem too bright to me, but there's more to it that we later learn about this Clark man and what he's up to. But like he told Beth, that's your best friend. She politely scrolls on over, and he was like, I'll speak, but you got to make up with your best friend, Midge. Oh, yeah. Midge asked for sugar earlier. Takes the sugar dish, walks up the street, passes people up, looks around left, right, and pours sugar in a brand new 2-door sports car. Baby. New car and best friend be damn. Ooh, I would have woke her out if I found out. But hey, there's no cameras. I'm amazed no one notices that, but everybody's always watching the Emorys. Well, back to the Emorys. Everybody makes it home for the day. Mommy and daughter, Lucky and Gracie, go to the hardware store so they can pick up items to fix the window. The hardware store does turn into some satanic puzzle type deal, and it makes it look like Lucky's losing her mind. But when they get home, everybody lies about their day. I mean, nothing nefarious, but they choose not to tell the ugly part of the day, and just like Ruby answers, well, I'm the only one who knew blah, 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 blah in literary class. And Mr. Emory explains, how his day went in the most polite terms. But Lucky gets her point across. And this is why I started with the questions earlier. As only a husband and wife can, with some passive-aggressive stuff, child. Ooh. This is for calling her crazy earlier in front of those police officers, is what I've gathered from all this. But this is how married couples fight. Passive-aggressively and through food. I was like, it's so messed up. It's so messed up. I've already taught the next generation, look here, you don't want to be bothered? And he ain't do something sudden. Cut up an onion, put in a pot of water, let it boil. He'll think that whole house will be lit, finna have a hot, good meal. And ain't nothing there but boiling water and an onion. You'll humble some people. They'll start paying attention. The right man who loves you and cares about your food will care about that. But if you don't cook and child, y'all used to going out, I ain't got no advice for you. I don't know what to tell you. Either way, he pushed through. He ate that sweet pie. He did not have, look, he cried. He had tears. He shook. He shrugged. Look, Lucky started crying herself when she realized, ooh, I done went too far. But you know what? I took it as only a passive-aggressive married couple fighting in front of their kids would do. I'm gonna eat this pie. but you gonna get it together over there on the other end of the table. And so she understood without communicating. They both understood. We see each other. Look, I can give some stories, but child, pork was our thing. Yeah. So, anywho, he pushed through as if to show her, yep, it's my trigger, but you're gonna get yours together as well too. They both was in tears, and we then cut to the backyard is bleeding where the dog got buried. With that being said, that is day 3, episode 2 of Them on Amazon Prime from Sony Pictures. If you can, tweet, post, talk about it on Instagram. I think this is a great little anthology on the way with Black writers. And from the backstory I've gathered from listening to the director's cut, it took him 2 to 3 years when he started writing this. And I'm glad he was. So let me know what your thoughts are in the comments. Otherwise, I'll try and keep it shorter next time or combine 2 episodes. But I like it so far.